How can anyone, whether they want to work in a language school or privately from their own laptop anywhere in the world, create a rewarding and impactful career teaching English as a second language, even if they are just starting out or have no teaching experience or ability? Hi, my name is Lynette Kim, and here on the TESOL Talk podcast, I aim to answer that very question.
A daunting situation that can happen to an ESL teacher is when suddenly they're thrown into a class that they may or may not have taught before, and they have to teach this class, and they're given some resources. So maybe there's some worksheets or there's a page in a course book or whatever, and they're told, here you go, here's the resources, please go and teach this class. And there's no time to prep. So you've basically got no time to properly read over what the students are going to be doing. The first time that you're looking at it is going to be when you're actually telling the students what to do themselves. That's very hard, and you don't really want to get caught in that kind of situation unless you're really experienced. So what do? This is something that you actually prepare for. When you become an ESL teacher, you make sure you are ready for these situations no matter what. And so we have what is called in the industry a bag of tricks. Now, a bag of tricks is basically a mental store of activities and worksheets that are basic in your mind that you know you can pull out and do at any time. And for some people, they actually have a physical bag of tricks. They'll have like little cards and little activities or whatever, and they'll keep that in their bags, or they'll keep that in a little folder or a box at work, and they'll like literally pull these things out, ESL games. And I've done it that way with study tour for sure, because you need physical resources. But when you're teaching in class, it's not always viable, but you know, it is great to have something on hand. Now, what you do with your bag of tricks. So I'll give you an example. I was teaching at a language school on the Gold Coast, and a teacher was sick, and I had to take the conversation class. So my bag of tricks, I had to walk in there. It was basically, I was standing outside the door, and the academic manager said, "Lynn, can you please just go teach that class?" I'm like, "What?" And you say, okay, you just got to do it. And there's no point in thinking about it. You just walk in there totally unprepared. So I was handed the worksheets, walked in. I didn't even look at the worksheets because there was no time. The students were all sitting. They were all waiting. The poor teacher had gotten food poisoning or something and was just in no condition to walk back into their classroom. So go into the classroom and just, first of all, just say hi to the class as you do, have a little chat with them. Okay, everyone's just come back from lunch. All right, what did you have? Everyone talk about what they had for lunch, and tell the person next to you, and tell them something good and something bad about it. So just on the fly, make up a little discussion that they can have as pairs and say, right, we're going to do reported speech. You guys are going to tell the class what the other person told you. So you've got 10 minutes to discuss. Go. Now you've got them doing something in pairs. So you're okay. You've got 5-7 minutes. I mean, you hope an activity goes for 10, but count on it going for 5 to 7. So you've now got 5 to 7 minutes. So what I did is get up on the board. Now, my favorite activity for adults in my bag of tricks is something called relationships. And it's basically a questionnaire thing that I do with them. So I put a grid up on the board and I draw it up with, 5 squares and 2 columns so that there's 10 questions, and each of the questions I already know in my mind. So question number 1 about relationships is describe your ideal partner. Now, it depends on the level. So if they're very low level, you will have to adapt this, but, you can make it so like, what does your ideal man look like? Now, or woman, you let the students use dictionaries so that if they don't understand all the words. But generally, if you've got pre-intermediate level to upper intermediate, there's going to be absolutely no issue. They'll be able to work through this. So then maybe question number 2 is going to be like, describe your ideal date. And then the next question, you're going to get a little juicier now. You're going to say, if you cheated on your partner, would you tell tell them, or would you keep it secret? And so, you have all these these are called controversial questions. And actually, this is also can be termed as a biography exchange, where you're giving biographical information about yourselves. So you put these controversial questions. So I have these set of 10 controversial questions about relationships that I put down in this sheet. Now, what I do is I don't have time for a sheet. I don't have time for handouts. So I put this up on the board, and when the students have now finished their discussion, I've had 5 minutes, I've gotten these questions on the board. The students are looking at it going, ooh, what's that? That looks interesting, because they're adults. They want to have adult conversations. So then what you do is you tell the students, okay, everybody write down this biography exchange onto a piece of paper now. And so they all copy it down. Great. There's another few minutes gone. So you allow for that. So by this stage, you're like 15 minutes into your lesson.
Hi, it's Lynn here. I hope you're enjoying this episode of TESOL Talks. I just want to let you know that if you're interested in teaching English as a second language, the best way to get started is by getting your TESOL certification. And I recommend a TESOL Australia course because, well, I wrote them. I put everything that I wished I had been taught when I was first teaching into the TESOL Australia courses, along with a lot of other information and training. If you have any questions or you need someone to help you figure out a plan to create a rewarding and impactful career teaching English as a second language, simply go to our website, tesolau.com. That's TESOLAU.com, and fill in the inquiry form to get professional advice on your goals and exact situation. Now let's get straight back to the episode.
And then you might even ad lib and put some vocabulary on the board now, like, disappointed, brokenhearted, a few, different vocabs, and get them, just say to students, okay, what's some vocabulary related to love and relationships? And you get a list of vocab up on the board, and they put that up, and you put that up there. All right, I want you to use this type of vocabulary while you discuss these questions with your partner, and always demonstrate. So get someone and get them to just demonstrate and have a chat with them. So now what you're going to do is you're going to get students to, if they can walk around the class, great. If they can't, they can just keep swapping chairs. You're going to get them to go around and talk to random people, so a different person for each question, and you're going to get them, or you can just, they can be in pairs and just the same person, two people to talk to each other and ask the questions. And you've got to say, you've got to write down your partner's answer in each square. So you got the full answer there. So they've got to ask the question, write down the answer, then the other person's going to ask them the question and write down their answer. And they're going to go through this. Now, each one's going to take 5 to 10 minutes, and you've got your 10 questions. So this can take up a full lesson doing this. And you've got some meaningful vocabulary they're going to discuss. At the end of this discussion, and students will get very animated, and you can sit back at this point and just be guiding students and helping them where they need help. But the meaningful part for them is they're very grossly involved in this discussion, which is quite interesting for them. At the end of it, you go, okay, everybody, feedback time. And then you say, okay, so student number 1, choose a question. And they might say question number 3, great. What did your partner answer for that question? And then they tell the classroom, everyone has a laugh and has a giggle. And then you go around and randomly ask students to give back feedback. Now, you can choose to use something like this for the entire lesson, or you might just use this for half the lesson. In the meantime, while students were doing this, you could have been looking over the worksheets that you had been given for that lesson and decide, yep, I'm going to use some of that, and we'll, after we finish the relationships activity, I'll go now. I'm prepared. You're fully prepared. You've had a chance to look at it. You'll hand out the worksheets and you go, right, now we're going on to the next activity in this conversation lesson. And then you can explain the worksheets and go on. So a bag of tricks is absolutely vital for those times when you have no time to prepare. So it could have been a game. It can be a discussion. You can tell students they have to tell a story to their partner about something and their partner has to repeat it, whatever. But make sure whatever activity that you give them to buy you time to prepare, that it's going to go for a minimum of 10 minutes. So you give yourself 10 minutes of breathing space so that then you can look at the material that you have been given and you can decide how you're going to present that. You can put things up on the board, get yourself mentally prepared, think about how you're going to add value to that material, how you're going to present it, how you're going to draw out the student talk time to as close to 80% as you can, whether it's going to be pair or group work, whatever, and then you're ready and poised to teach that once that bag of tricks activity that always works for you is done and completed. So just remember, in a good TESOL course, you'll always get these activities. So in our International TESOL certificate, we have a whole section with tried and true activities and games and warm-ups that can be used for the adult and children's ESL classroom. And so make sure you always have at least 10 of these that are your go-to, that you know no matter what happens, if a lesson finishes early, right, you can go straight to a game. And you can relate that game to the theme of the lesson and use vocabulary. So you could do backs to the board, or you could do charades, or you could do, all of those sorts of activities, Pictionary, anything like that, these sorts of activities. But that bag of tricks is vital to have to help you as an ESL teacher navigate your way through when you have to prepare for lessons and you just don't have time. You have to walk in that classroom because students are waiting. Now you know, okay, it's fine. It's legal. Legal's the wrong word, but it's okay to give yourself a good 10 minutes by keeping the students busy while you get the chance to prepare. Because if you try and present a lesson cold with no preparation, it's going to feel so hard and it's going to be very awkward for you and particularly for the students. And you really just don't want to feel, students will know, okay, you're filling in, but you still don't want that awkwardness. You want to prepare something and have it quality. So buy yourself that time by having that bag of tricks and always being ready.